From personal experience and general media portrayal, it seems like wives and girlfriends generally dislike everything their male partners do for fun, such as fishing, cars, and golfing. I have a theory that men go golfing just to get away from their wives. Every man I have dated has disliked my interest in rebuilding old cars, and fishing together was always the worst. I never imagined this would be a problem in relationships. Can any men share their thoughts? Does your wife like your hobbies, and how do you feel about that? Does she dislike them, and do you think you would like it if she were involved? Story 1. Every man I have dated has hated my interest in rebuilding old cars, and fishing together was always the worst. It sounds like those men were not interested in those activities. Just because you are interested in something that most men are said to enjoy does not mean you will necessarily end up with a man who shares those interests. Story 2. I love a woman with hobbies. The only hobby that is a potential red flag is horses because they are really expensive. $1,500 or more per month for boarding. At those prices, you might as well become a helicopter pilot. Story 3. We both enjoy each other's hobbies enough to listen to one another talk about them, go on related outings together, and occasionally participate or help out. Neither of us is so involved in the other's hobby that it causes interference, jealousy, competitiveness, or arguments. Story 4. I have a theory that women cannot stand it if a man is doing something that does not in some way serve them or their relationship. Playing video games? A woman sees that and subconsciously thinks, "What's in this for me?" Woodworking? A woman sees that and might subconsciously think, "He can make me something." In all my life, I have met very few women who see men's hobbies in a positive light. At best, they see them as tolerable wastes of time. Many women seem to expect their partner to always be doing something for them or at least thinking about that. That is why when a man meets a woman who actively encourages his hobbies or even participates in them, they hold on to that relationship tightly. Seriously, have you ever seen a pair of Dungeons and Dragons enthusiasts get divorced? Story 5. I think that would be great. The only caveat is that he would probably still want to be able to do things with just his friends from time to time. For example, if you and a man both really liked fishing, he might want to occasionally go out with his friends and fish. Story 6. I heavily prefer women with hobbies. What is a person with no hobbies? That being said, there is a large population of people, both men and women, with no hobbies outside of watching television, scrolling on their phones, and drinking. It is a sad life. Find 2 activities that make you happy, one that makes you sweat and one that relaxes you. Story 7. Yes and no. I would love it if my wife were a video gamer so we could play games together and I could game more often. However, I also like that she is not, because then I still have some activity that I can do by myself and it is only my thing. That helps me maintain a part of myself as an individual, instead of fully becoming my wife's husband. Story 8. I love it when I find out a woman loves metal music like me. And no, I don't start gatekeeping or asking, "Name 5 songs then," or some nonsense. I served a woman customer wearing a Rammstein hoodie, saying, "Nice hoodie, love the band," and we started talking about what they are like live. I made friends with a woman coworker who surprised me because she loves metal. We used to talk about music all the time whenever we worked, discussing favorite bands we've seen live. She even, out of her own kindness, bought me a Killswitch Engage hat when she went to see them because the hat reminded her of me. I love it. Also, gaming, yeah. The only friend I've made on PlayStation Network is a woman in Germany who played a lot of battle mode on Doom Eternal. She beat me in a match playing Slayer, and I just said, "Good game, well played." She sent me a friend request thanking me for being nice about it. We started teaming up in the game as a demon team and have only lost about 3 times because we are both really good. We played as a team for years and became friends. She showed me images of all the Doom merchandise she has and generally loves the video game franchise as much as I do. Women, just like men, have one life as far as we know, so why not enjoy it while we can? If they have male stereotypical hobbies and interests, that's fine. The same goes for men who have female stereotypical hobbies and interests. Story 9. We all need our private time, space, or hobby, but I have definitely shown interest in your car refurbishing hobby. I would even be your assistant for a while. It is attractive to me if a girl can be handy with tools. Story 10. Most men just want to be allowed to do what they enjoy without conflict. Men do not need their wife to be excited about sitting in a golf cart or fishing with them. They just need to be independent and secure enough not to overreact when they spend a couple of hours doing something else on a weekend. It is very rare that a couple has a mutual hobby in my experience. Story 11. I want someone who is interested in my hobbies, but not someone who needs to always be involved. Sometimes I just want to play games with the boys. She does not need to be involved in my life all the time. I do not think that is healthy. Sometimes I need a little time away, and she needs to be able to do her own thing. If I find a girl who is into games and Dungeons and Dragons, amazing, but I also want the space to do those things away from her. Story 12. It depends on the hobby. I think golfing is a good example of a hobby where its primary purpose is to allow men to be among each other and converse about the goings-on of their lives. Like when women go and get their nails done, it is an exclusively female environment where they can act and speak without any male presence. Would I take my girlfriend golfing if she were inclined to? Yes, but if she then wanted to go play with my friends and me every time we went out, it would be kind of strange because having a woman there completely changes the vibe of the outing, just like if a man were to join a group of women when getting a manicure. Maybe it might be interesting to go with my girlfriend once, but if I wanted to go with her and her friends each time, I would be ruining their outing. Basically, I think that certain activities are coded for a specific gender, and those activities should be respected as such. Story 13. My wife isn't into my hobbies, but my God, when she shows any kind of genuine curiosity about the things I'm interested in, it makes me feel so good. I don't expect my wife to learn guitar, but I really love it when she asks about it in a sincere way or when she comes to see me play. I don't expect her to love fishing, but I enjoy it when we talk about it and she asks me how my day was. She also has a doctor of philosophy in fisheries ecology, so we have some deep conversations. There is some truth to wanting an individual hobby. It's not so much that I want to get away from my wife, but that I want to have time to myself doing something I love. I would love to have her alone sometimes, of course, but I would also want my own time to do my own thing. Space in relationships is very important, and hobbies are a way to create that space. Story 14. It depends. Men want a woman who shares hobbies with them. We love a woman who is interested in the same things as us and with whom we can discuss our passions. However, they would not and should not want a woman who shares all their hobbies. Men want to retain a handful of hobbies that are just for themselves and some friends. Maybe it's poker, golf, watching sports, or fishing. The woman can even be into these to some extent, but she should not try to insert herself into male bonding time. People need to have distinct identities and lives outside of their partners. The same applies to women. Do not routinely make your partner part of your girls' nights out or getting nails done. You need some time apart from each other occasionally. As a one-time event or once a year, it could be okay. But each of us needs time apart with our own friends. Story 15. For the most part, yes. Some specific hobbies might be problematic. Being into occult activities suggests a lack of rational connection with reality. Traveling or high-end dining sounds too expensive. Skydiving sounds too dangerous. Activities like carpentry, playing music, and car mechanic work are productive and honest but potentially noisy, and I am sensitive to noise. Great hobbies include reading, writing, cooking, gaming, movies and television, hiking, gardening, photography, cosplay, math puzzles, and more. Story 16. Men like when you are interested in them and their interests. However, they also want some time with just the guys. If he offers for you to join, he will be happy that you share his interests. Story 17. I taught my wife how to play Magic: The Gathering 2 years ago, and she loves it. We have made many new friends through the game. She won a game last night as well. She also enjoys playing games and likes playing with me. Story 18. I do not really understand relationships like the ones you described. My wife and I both have hobbies. Some of them are shared, and some of them are separate because we have no interest in those particular things. Neither of us complains about the other person spending time on their hobbies. I do not think I could deal with that. Story 19. It's hard to make generalizations. Some men want to share their hobbies with their partner. Some men want to keep some hobbies as alone time activities. Some men want a balance of both. Disliking hobbies depends on the person and the hobby. Is it about the financial implications of the hobby? The amount of time it takes that they want to spend differently? The way both partners try to engage in the hobby together? For something like fishing, it might be an activity where not much conversation is needed. If someone is new to the hobby or more talkative, and the experienced person wants to experience it more meditatively, that could cause misalignment. For cars, it could be an expensive hobby that consumes a lot of space. It really depends on the situation, and generalizations are not very useful. Story 20. Yes, we absolutely do. However, we also do not want to be smothered. There is a balance to it. Have your own hobbies too. Story 21. Like everything in life, it has to be a healthy balance. Some of my interests, fitness, food, water sports, and exploring, are best experienced with someone else, be it a friend, partner, or fellow enthusiast. Some of my other interests, reading and painting miniatures, I do for myself to switch off from the world. For me, a partner needs their own hobbies and interests that they can pursue for themselves. We also need to share interests to have an excuse to spend quality time together regardless of what life throws at us. Story 22. They hated your hobbies? Hated? Did they ever give a reason? Women with hobbies are the best. I cannot understand why someone would have negative opinions towards them. Story 23. I would not want to be with someone who shared all my hobbies because that would be too much time together. However, I would love being with a woman with whom I share one or two hobbies while having things we both do individually. Story 24. I wouldn't mind it. If a girl genuinely shared my interests, there would be more opportunities for me to geek out about Formula One or video games and more chances to bond. At the same time, my hobbies are usually alone time, and if I am always sharing that space with someone, I am going to get annoyed because I am not getting my alone time. Story 25. I have a lot of hobbies. I enjoy sharing hobbies with a partner, as long as I still get my alone time. Story 26. I would definitely prefer she be interested in my hobbies rather than hate them. Just listening when I want to talk about my hobbies is enough. However, she does not need to be involved directly. We can have our own interests, and sometimes that is preferable, as long as she is not a hater. Story 27. Each has their hobbies. If she is interested in mine or I in hers, then what is there not to like? It does not take anything away from me. If she wants to have her own time, I would arrange things that way. Story 28. Yes. Doing something meaningful with your spare time is more attractive than scrolling TikTok and watching low-quality shows. Story 29. Depends on the person. Some people want all their time to be spent together. Anything spent separately causes arguments or signals not loving someone anymore. Going on an outing for fishing or golfing is time that could have been spent walking the mall with your wife or girlfriend. Personally, I prefer for both of us to have hobbies of our own, spend time doing our own activities, and hang out with friends. Some people feel like being together forever means always being together. Story 30. For me personally, yes. Seeing my partner full of passion doing what they love is a beautiful thing to see. Story 31. I think most men would prefer their girlfriend or wife to share their interests, but sometimes there are good reasons not to indulge together. Sometimes it is about wanting to take time for introspection and contemplation, or simply to unwind and express emotions. Sometimes it is about wanting to reconnect and spend time with friends without someone else, who would otherwise be the top priority, distracting you, changing the tone, or creating social pressure to act or not act in certain ways, whether intentional or not. Sometimes you might technically have the same hobbies, but your understanding and reasons for liking them are completely different, making them functionally different hobbies. If you want to join him in activities looking forward to a B and C, but he is focused on X, Y, and Z, one of you will be disappointed, and the other will be frustrated about the other's unhappiness. Story 32. Trust me, if I connected even halfway decently with a woman I find attractive who is also into Dungeons and Dragons, I would probably be looking up wedding rings halfway into our second date. However, this varies from person to person and between different interests. I am not into fishing or fixing cars, but I can picture those as relaxing hobbies for men who do. Something mechanical and straightforward where nothing is expected of you. No one is bothering you, and you can just let your thoughts wander. Story 33. Here is my theory. There are two kinds of relationships. The first is a relationship where both individuals are fulfilling their societal roles with partners they believe are most suited to that. It is not about the individual. It is about their status. These people are not in love, and they do not enjoy spending time together. The second is a relationship of love. It involves two people who enjoy each other so much that they may choose to defy societal norms to be together. Their partners may be flawed. Their lives may be challenging. But together they will carve out their own life. One of these relationship styles enjoys shared hobbies. The other does not. Story 34. I would love to fall for a woman who has hobbies I can at least relate to. I think it is super cool that you renovate old cars. I would go fishing with a woman even though I find it a little boring. I like that you enjoy it. Story 35. My wife did art as a hobby, so I convinced her to quit her job and pursue art full-time. She now creates custom clothing featuring her artwork. If she is passionate about something and it is a healthy hobby, I will always support her happiness. Story 36. I think I am usually okay with you joining in on my hobbies once, giving it an honest try. If you genuinely like it, we could definitely do it together often. But if you do not, I would much rather you tell me straight up. When you do, I usually have this agreement with you where I say, I promise not to let my hobby consume me if you promise not to get upset whenever I do it. Story 37. I'm going to go against the grain here and say I like the fact my wife is not interested in my hobbies. They are my thing for me to enjoy on my own terms. She has her own hobbies, which I am not into, but they are her thing for her to enjoy on her own terms. The problems seem to come when one partner in a relationship has no hobbies of their own and starts getting resentful or annoyed at the partner who does. Story 38. I would prefer it if we shared similar hobbies, to be honest. I assume you have reasonable personal space and are not overly clingy. There is a big difference between enjoying the same hobbies together and literally being together all the time. Story 39. Any girl who is interested in her partner's hobbies is great, as she helps to connect more and spend more time together. It also helps the guy to feel seen and cared for. I am not sure how to explain it, but it kind of makes the girl a cheerleader, and the guy loves having one beside him. Story 40. What works for me and my partner is a healthy balance that allows us to do what we both enjoy together, while also maintaining our own interests. Story 41. It can be a benefit, but it depends on attitudes. Some people become controlling when it comes to how others express themselves through their hobbies. Story 42. I have hobbies for two reasons. General interest. If you like games and I like games, let's play games. If you like cars and I like cars, let's go for a track day. Then there are hobbies I do so I can be with my friends, and sometimes I like to do that without you, because we all need safe spaces where we can relax and be ourselves without worrying about what others think. Do we talk about our spouses? Sometimes, probably in the same way you talk about yours. Those are hobbies I'm not interested in my wife joining me in. Every man is different, so maybe just ask if he minds you tagging along on his hobbies. If you think it would be cool, he might be thrilled. If he's not, that's okay too. Story 43. Well, maybe it's how you do the hobbies. Obviously, I have no clue, but like you, I cannot imagine not approving of something as positive and educational as car restoration, unless it drains the funds and leaves oil stains all over the house. I have hobbies, many of which are focused on acting like I am at least 20 years younger than I am, which feels a bit embarrassing at times. However, she is supportive in theory, as we can easily afford the things I spend money on, and I enjoy it most of the time. I actually feel a bit immature because I do have hobbies. Compared to her, nothing. Bless her. Story 44. Yeah, it's great to share those sorts of things, but it's important to have separate interests as well. People need time apart too. Story 45. Some men treat hobbies as their alone time and need that moment to be by themselves. While some do not mind if you are with them, it depends on how sincere you are and if you genuinely want to understand and learn what they are into, rather than pretending to care just to hijack it and do your own thing. If they are all reacting like this, then it is probably something you are doing. Story 46, generally yes, but honestly, I don't really care. I value someone whose personality is similar to mine and who treats me right. Story 47, I would absolutely love it. I am personally into rebuilding old cars myself. My 42-year-old girlfriend has a few hobbies that she enjoys. It is a huge green flag for me. She is teaching me a little about them. Seeing her excitement when she talks about her hobbies or watching her engage in them is pure bliss for me. I have dated women who do not seem to have hobbies, and it was disappointing. Story 48. I would not want to be with someone who hates my hobbies. I would like to be with someone who is interested in some of my hobbies and is simply happy that I am happy with the others. Story 49. My fiancé, age 28, and I, age 29, both like similar things. I like that because it lets us do things together and see them from different perspectives. I like driving and she likes looking at cars. So we volunteer at a navigational rally together. I drive to our checkpoint and she takes pictures while I work the checkpoint. Then I can talk about how car 7 did really well. She can talk about how car 12 had paint that showed great on the camera in the overcast weather. And we both experience the same event but get completely different things out of it and have new interesting things to tell each other. Story 50. Everyone has to have something that they are interested in. If anything, I would be more put off by someone who seemingly enjoys nothing. Story 51. When I was really into basketball, I was not interested in my then girlfriends being interested. The same applied to the gym, bodybuilding, or politics. Story 52. I'm into cars and my wife likes it because she never has to deal with it. I talk to the mechanics. I research cars well before she's ready to buy, so knowing her preferences, I typically give her 2 or 3 to choose from, and she picks what she wants. Other hobbies like poker she's fine with because I win considerably more than I lose, so we always have cash around. The hobbies you mention are typically ones guys like to do alone most of the time. We take a guy fishing trip every year, and if my wife asked to go, I'd look at her like she has 3 heads. It's as much a trip for getting away from family responsibilities for a week as it is for fishing. On the other hand, if she wanted to plan a separate weekend for just the family to fish, I'd be fine with that because I'd know from the start that it really wasn't about fishing but about family time. It'd be an issue, though, if 2 weeks later I wanted to go fishing alone and she complained that I had just been fishing because it's not the same thing. If a guy is into his hobby, then he is concentrating on the hobby when he's doing it. That single-mindedness is very relaxing. If your wife suddenly wants to do it with you, then you now have to split your concentration between the hobby and her, which is nowhere near as relaxing. You start to feel crowded. It's not great. Story 53. It is good to share the same interests and hobbies, but it is also good to have some of your own. It is good to enjoy spending time together, but sometimes I like to do my own thing as well. It is just about balance. Story 54. I absolutely love when my partner has their own hobbies. Teach me what you love and show me your passion. It is attractive. If we share our love for that passion, we can help one another grow and improve. Story 55. A lot of women do not like typical male hobbies such as fishing, hunting, golfing, gaming, Legos, cars, and watching sports because there is no talking involved. Men and women are different. Men typically enjoy hobbies that allow them to be quiet, tune out the world, and just exist in the moment. Women, on the other hand, want to talk, actively listen, and want their partner to do the same. They want to talk about life, work, friendships, and gossip. When men talk during their hobbies, it is usually about the hobby itself, for example, discussing baseball players, cars, how to win a game, or new equipment. Of course, these are generalizations. Not all women or men fit this description. By and large, the difference between men and women comes from the fact that many male hobbies revolve around unplugging from daily stresses and letting the mind go blank. No work stress, no home stress, just focusing on the activity. No talking, no thinking, just existing. That is how many men relax. Because many women cannot relate to this, they may have problems understanding men who have these hobbies. Story 56. It's always great, especially if some of them overlap with mine and some do not. She should be able to do her own activities or something she and her friends can enjoy together, and we should have things we enjoy together. Story 57. I don't have a wife, but I do have a husband. He and I enjoy different activities, and sometimes we do them together. Other times, we appreciate the opportunity to do things separately. It gives us a chance to take a break, refresh, and have some alone time. I enjoy golfing, but he does not. I like going out golfing with a few friends when we can coordinate our schedules. It is nice to have that space and enjoy something on your own. Story 58. My interest is in rebuilding old cars and fishing. You raise two red flags and are clearly terrible at choosing men. Story 59. Yes, however, sometimes men have hobbies that involve having few people around in solitude as one of their main psychological benefits, such as golf. It is like when women ask men what they are thinking, and men say nothing, enjoying their contemplative silence, and women do not think that is possible. Story 60. That is part of the reason why I like my girlfriend so much. Being able to share special moments together doing an activity we both enjoy is connecting. Story 61. Yes and no. Genuine, independent interest in similar things is great. Having some overlap in interests is beneficial for a relationship. Fake interest, going with the flow, pretending to be one of the guys is awful. I value authenticity. I do not need someone attaching themselves to my hobbies just as an excuse to be together. And I do not want someone who is just humoring me when I talk about cars, plants, birds, or other topics. Story 62. Yes. However, not every man is interested in traditional male hobbies. I suppose you were unfortunate in that regard. Story 63. I would love it. I just expect girls not to be interested in the things I am because they usually are not. But if they were, it would make life better. I do not know if I would be rebuilding old cars with you, but I would help out if I could and talk to you all day about them. That is very cool. I guess in the end, it is just cool if someone has a passion for anything. The best thing about being with someone is sharing in their happiness, so I do not understand why anyone would dislike the idea of sharing interests. Story 64. Because general media needs to find a way to create drama. Yes, we like it when you are into your hobbies. Please like it when I am into mine. Just don't say you are a boring person and the only hobby you have is reading, where you cannot even tell me what books you have read and which ones you like. Story 65. Having shared hobbies was always a good bonding experience with my ex, who I divorced for other reasons. I loved going hiking with her and was so excited when she got into Dungeons and Dragons. It honestly made me sad when she stopped enjoying doing those things with me. Story 66. It has never been a problem for me. Some girlfriends showed interest and it was fine. Most did not, but I had other things to do with them. I think the reason most media portrays this is because women and their hobbies usually revolve around being social. Often, women do not have a high opinion of things that do not have regular social aspects, directly or indirectly. I have seen girlfriends go from hating an activity to loving it just because a wider group started doing it. Keeping up with the hobby then became a way to participate and belong to the group. Story 67. Of course, men and women need time away from their spouses and children. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is only a problem when a husband or wife becomes obsessive about their hobby, neglecting everyone and everything else in their life. Story 68. I love when my fiancée is into my hobbies, and I enjoy getting into her hobbies. Needing time apart from your significant other is more important to some than others. I never get bored of her. Story 69. I literally broke up with my girlfriend because we could not find anything in common. We tried to find common ground, but it left us both frustrated. She was a wonderful girlfriend, but we could not find any hobbies we both enjoyed, and it made interacting too difficult. Be into your hobbies or his, but be into something. Story 70. If I were dating you and saw that you enjoyed rebuilding old cars, I would be supportive of it. I love women with hobbies, and that is a pretty awesome one. My hobbies are working out and Magic the Gathering. I swear my Magic the Gathering hobby is more attractive to her than my fitness level. Story 71. I love girls who talk about their special interests and hobbies. I love it when they are deeply interested in something nerdy or do something creative like knitting or drawing. If we share the same interest, that would be perfect. Story 72. Do men like girls who are into their hobbies? Honestly, it really depends on the hobby and the man. If it is a hobby we genuinely enjoy doing by ourselves, we usually like keeping it that way. We might be okay with you joining in, as long as it still feels like our thing. For example, I am big into Call of Duty Warzone. If my partner also likes playing, that is great. She can join a few matches with me or just watch. But the key is that anything about our relationship needs to stay outside the gaming room. Our hobbies, to a healthy degree, are often our personal escape from the world. On women disliking male hobbies, I somewhat agree with this observation. My theory is that sometimes they might not like feeling that they are not the absolute top priority in that specific moment, especially if it makes them feel that they are coming second to an activity. That is often why we are content leaving them at home to do their own thing. Or they may feel that if his hobby does not benefit her in some way, it is ultimately a waste of time. When a man is really deep into a hobby, it is very hard to give both his hobby and his partner full or even partial attention and still actually enjoy the hobby. It is no secret most of us are not great at multitasking. We tend to do better when we can focus on one thing at a time. On men golfing to get away from their wives. Again, I agree. Part of it is definitely finding a peaceful moment to ourselves, and part of it is just that playing games like golf is genuinely fun and relaxing. On men disliking your interest in rebuilding cars and fishing, let us flip it around. Imagine meeting a man who is very into shopping at fancy boutiques, arranging flowers, doing Pilates, or spending hours on hair and makeup tutorials. For most straight men, there is a natural repulsion there. We are generally looking for a romantic partner, not someone who feels like a brother or buddy doing traditionally masculine activities. It is often about looking for that complementary dynamic. On wives liking hobbies and our feeling about involvement. My wife, for instance, is totally fine with my hobbies in the sense that she is happy I have things that make me happy. But we keep a good balance. She is not really interested in joining my hobbies unless it is something she already genuinely enjoys herself. We both play games, for example, but our styles are completely different. I play the typical guy games, strategy games, first-person shooters, action-adventure, and city builders. She is more into Sims and other life simulation games, which are often seen as girl games. So we rarely overlap. We did find one game we both enjoyed together, but honestly, 99% of the time we play separately. Story 73. Every man I have dated has hated my interest in rebuilding old cars, and fishing together was always the worst. This is very strange to me, since vehicle restoration is a really cool hobby, even for someone like me who knows nothing about cars. I am one level above going to the store to pick up some blinker fluid and paint for the Go Faster stripes. I can understand the fishing part, though. You do that to get away from the world and be alone with your thoughts for a few hours. Story 74. I dislike certain hobbies because I want no part of them. Sharing hobbies with my wife is good, but they do not all have to be shared. If none of them are shared, that is a problem. Life gets busy. If you cannot do things you enjoy with your partner, you will have to give up on one or the other. Story 75. I think it is attractive. It provides an opportunity to learn about the other person and engage with them, beyond the typical everyday conversations about family and work. Story 76. Is the Pope Catholic? The reason many men complain about their wives and girlfriends not sharing their hobbies is because, first, that is a stereotype and a common trope in media, the nagging wife or similar, and second, it is not easy to find a partner who is completely compatible with your interests. Generally, most men and women have very different hobbies, but it is not impossible. Many people do not mind starting a new hobby with their spouse. They try things out regardless of whether it is their personal interest if it is done with someone they love. Story 77. I would love it if a partner showed interest in rebuilding old cars, though it would probably be best if they had their own car. Our styles probably do not match. Story 78. It is not necessary, but it can be nice when she wants to know why I am interested in certain things. Sharing interests can make some pretty great bonding. Story 79. I do not have any of those hobbies, but I would like a woman who is into the same things as me. However, I would still go to the gym alone. She can join me for Dungeons and Dragons and concerts, among other activities. Story 80. It depends on the person. I had a previous girlfriend who was interested in cars, which seemed perfect since I was building and showing cars at the time. It was a disaster, but that had more to do with her than the hobby. My wife and I both enjoy some of the same music and attend a couple of concerts together each year. I go to many more without her, as she is not into hardcore music, and I frequently attend local hardcore shows. It is fantastic. Story 81. It depends on the person, of course, but certain hobbies are meant to get away from their partner or family for a little while. Sometimes someone just wants to be left alone to do something they enjoy and simply enjoy it. Not to talk about work, family matters, or anything else, or even have the possibility of those topics coming up. Just to be in the moment of enjoyment. Story 82. My two main hobbies, skiing and mountain biking, are shared by my girlfriend of 15 years. We met through an interest in outdoor activities. However, we would not be together if we could not ski and bike together. Having said that, girlfriend rides are very different due to skill levels, and boys' trips are important. My girlfriend knows when the day will be beyond her skill level and bows out. On the other hand, girlfriend rides are fun for different reasons. It is all about balance. Story 83. One of the things I find very unattractive is a person who has no hobbies or pastimes and just works and consumes media. A person who is curious about the world around them and works on improving their skills and interests is important to me and was a key criterion when I was on dating apps. People with no hobbies are generally boring to talk to and hang out with. I have many different hobbies, and generally, people who have none don't know how to enjoy time by themselves and rely on their partner to entertain them. That doesn't work for me because I want time to cultivate the skills that interest me. Story 84. Some guys have hobbies to get away for a while. Time apart is as important as time together. From my perspective, if we had hobbies we could do together, that would be ideal. Most women I know have no hobbies at all, and that's something I look for in a partner. I ask them, "What do you do for fun?" And they mostly say they don't know. When they say that, my gut response is always, "Oh." But if she says anything, arts and crafts, hiking, biking, swimming, archery, baking, or even restoring old cars, I immediately want to know more. I don't care what hobby it is, but just having one shows great personality, and that's what I look for. Story 85. We have very different hobbies, and I am grateful for that. It gives us a reason to spend time alone and together without irritating each other. It is all about finding the right balance. Story 86. It would be an added bonus if we had some common interests, but it is not a requirement if we connect on another level. Story 87. My wife's hobbies are different from mine. She has become obsessed with color by number for adults, with a splash of book reading when she feels like it. My hobbies are skating and hiking mostly. We used to play Magic: The Gathering together, but it is too expensive now. Together, we play video games. Yesterday, we played a new roguelike together, and she complained the whole time. She ended up playing it after I went to bed and loved it. Both of our main love languages are spending time together, so when we are not doing our solo hobbies, we often play games together. Having separate hobbies is healthy. You can also make having the same hobbies healthy too. Communication is key. Story 88. We have plenty in common. It does not have to be everything. We have enough overlap that we can spend time on, so there is no reason we cannot have a few individual activities. Story 89. I have never been in a serious relationship, but I think it would be very enjoyable to have a partner who likes similar things to me. This opinion includes the assumption that the person is rarely, if ever, an energy drain on me. In other words, I never get tired of her. Story 90. For the most part, I do not care if a woman shares my specific hobbies, except reading. I do not think I would seriously consider dating someone long-term who does not read. Some crossover is nice, but as long as they have their own things they are genuinely passionate about and other things they are curious about, I am fine. The passion for discovery and thirst for knowledge is where the appeal lies, more so than any specific interest. Story 91. Here's the thing for me. If a woman has traditionally masculine hobbies, it doesn't bother me. In fact, I prefer that because it means we probably have something in common and can do things together. I am not interested in cars, but I would love to go fishing with a woman. Honestly, that sounds terrific. Story 92. Yes, I do like having time where we can be together. If she likes to knit and I play video games, we can sit together and relax after a long day. Story 93. If there is time available for both the United States and for me or her to have our own hobbies, then I do not care what hobbies she enjoys. It may help if you have some common hobbies or activities to do together. I do not personally care for old cars. I prefer practical cars for transportation from point A to point B. Utility, engine size, age, nostalgia do not matter to me when it comes to cars. Fishing depends on the type. Find a person who likes those things. I am sure they are out there. Attend a classic car event. Story 94. From your theory about men liking golfing to get away from their wives, I think that is only half true. They enjoy the sport, but also everyone needs alone time and time with just their friends. As far as hobbies, I have not met a woman yet who did not find intrigue in me having hobbies. Most of them ask genuine questions, and quite a few have attempted to take up the hobby with me. Story 95. Yes and no. Some hobbies I do because I still need my own time. I expect her to have her hobbies that I do not need to partake in either, but we should also have joint hobbies we are both interested in. Story 96. I would really enjoy having a partner who shares similar hobbies as me but also respects that I need some alone time. One of my biggest pastimes is playing video games. Many of them are single-player, and cooperative play does not always improve the experience. Sometimes it makes it worse. The whole fishing or golfing to get away. Absolutely. Sometimes you just need personal time that isn't work or at home with the same person every day. It isn't about disliking your spouse. Sometimes you just need quiet time alone or with people other than those you live with. Rebuilding old cars is definitely an uncommon hobby, especially as time goes by. Personally, if my spouse hated my hobbies, I don't think the relationship would work. She doesn't have to participate, but I do not want resentment in a relationship. That is poison for couples. Story 97. As a man who likes to buy beaters I can fix up to make passive income, I would approve. I am definitely not the man to critique your hobby, but generally, a partner having something that brings them joy brings me joy. Story 98. Hobbies are great. It is fun hearing someone talk enthusiastically about theirs. It also helps make it fair and understandable when either of us wants time for our hobbies. My former partner was very into reading, and I gladly read some books along with them. The books were romantic with fun world building, but I drew the line at anything involving cheating or multiple partners. It is funny since that is somewhat similar to how our relationship ended. Anyway, off topic, but hobbies are generally a very positive sign. Story 99. My wife and I have a lot of things in common and some differences. You need common ground to live with another person. Opposites attract in physics, but in biology, if you share interests or are willing to try each other's hobbies, you will have much healthier lives together. Story 100. I would love if my girl had more hobbies. Most of the ones she has now she started because of my interests and hobbies, which I love because we have many things to enjoy together. But I would love if she had her own interests and hobbies to introduce to our relationship, even if it is just her telling me about them. We do not need to do every single thing together, but it is fun. Story 101. I want her to have hobbies that nourish her. I don't expect her to stalk deer in the pouring rain or spend hours playing scientist developing ammunition. We must have both our life together and our lives apart. Story 102. Most women I have dated did not have any hobbies, just shopping for gemstones and spiritual activities. Women mainly seek a lifestyle that benefits them. They want to incorporate the hobby and lifestyle of their partner. It is a mix of love and hate. Story 103. Why not? Do not all men want their girl to be happy? The more abundant the source of her happiness, the better. Story 104. I think that being passionate about a hobby is always very cool unless it is watching movies, social media, or some other mindless consumption. Story 105. No, she does not like what I like. I do not care. I did not look for a friend but for a romantic partner. Therefore, it is perfectly fine and irrelevant that she does not care about my hobbies. It is also worth mentioning that she does not hate them. She is just indifferent. She may tag along and try to enjoy herself, but many times she opts out because she is merely there for company, and some events can be expensive. Story 106. Important things are shared morals and values. As long as we have some shared interests in activities we can do together on dates and similar occasions, I do not care what she does in her free time. Story 107. That's definitely how it is portrayed in the media, but I think it depends on her having a genuine interest in the hobby rather than doing it just to spend time together. Maybe the men you have dated see you as trying to spend time together instead of enjoying your hobby. Story 108. I feel like it would be nice initially to have something to connect or bond over, but after a certain point, there are other factors that matter more. I do not know, but personally, I like my alone time in relationships, and hobbies are a way for me to get that. It is not necessarily a bad thing, but I notice a lot of my friends lose themselves in relationships and simply mold into whatever their partner is. This naturally happens in relationships, but I still feel it is important to have a sense of personal identity, which can also be found outside of hobbies. Story 109. I think not, or maybe because I like many things. Video games, car shows, racing, movies, and sports. However, I only talk about these topics with my friends. Story 110. I would love if my partner had more hobbies. Most of the ones she has now she started because of my interests in hobbies, which I love because we have many things to enjoy together. However, I would love if she had her own interests and hobbies to introduce to our relationship, even if it's just her telling me about them. We don't need to do every single thing together, but it is fun. Story 111. You sound amazing. Those are not my hobbies, but unless you were spending my money on those cars, I would say that is impressive. Story 112. I love it when my girlfriend shares a common hobby with me. Sometimes, though, men just want time alone to think. That is why we play golf or other activities away from our girlfriends. The problem with women is they constantly talk, and sometimes we just do not want to talk. We just want to enjoy the activity with nothing on our minds. Story 113. I like sharing common hobbies with my partner, but I think it is extremely important for both of you to have activities you do separately. It is unhealthy to do everything together all the time. Creates codependency. I wish I had figured this out when I was younger. Story 114. Of course I like women who are interested in things. The only real issue to solve is that if we are both into the same thing, one of us will be more into it than the other, and that might cause some friction. I just want to know where you find these men who dislike your hobbies, because that is not something I have ever heard of happening in my real-life circles. As for wanting to get away from wives or girlfriends, it is true that I want to have something to do that she is not interested in, but it is not for any bad reason. I just need some alone time every now and then, just a couple of hours where it is just me by myself. As much as I might enjoy your company, I sometimes need to be alone for a bit. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.